Hello, Arrow.
Hello and good morning. How are you doing, Tre'vell?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited to talk with you because you're an open door. You're opening up the eyes of those that are in question. You're opening up the hearts of those that don't know. And for you to put this book out here for us to hold on to with both hands, this is an amazing journey that is coming true.
I'm so excited for it to be out in the world and folks to be able to, wrestle with some of the things that we have in there.
The wrestling part, why after all these years is there still so much wrestling? What is the journey? Because I want to understand it, Tre'vell.
Yeah, I think, well, first and foremost, I'd like to say that we as trans people have always existed in every culture, in every community since the beginning of time. Now, we did not have the language back in the day that we have today to be able to describe those folks, but we've always been there. And then when it comes to our film and TV history, we've also always been there. You perhaps just did not know, right? And so how can we begin to have a conversation about how the things we see on screen impact us in our everyday lives, and that's something that I try to do with the book, is like humanize and personalize some of these stories, some of these films and shows that you might have seen, so that you think differently, right? And hopefully that gets us to a place where we can truly say, we have inclusion, or that we have, everyone accurately represented on screen.
Tre'vell, were you part of the actual design of this book cover? Because it really does serve as a ticket. It's a ticket for you to say, well, what's in this? And then when you open it, it's like, oh my God, this is unbelievable.
Yes, there was a very long journey to this cover, lots of conversations, but I really wanted something that hyper-focused on the vastness of the history, right, and the complexities therein, right? So, yes, it's a book about trans representation, but I'm talking about drag. I'm talking about, I'm a big lover of Tyler Perry as Medea, and so I talk a little bit about how Black men in particular in my life dressing up as women characters influences and impacts, right, the everyday lives of Black trans women in films, so that we as a community can talk about it, right? And so I wanted the cover to kind of give you glimpses of, oh, this person or this type of conversation might be talked about in this film or in this book, so that it serves as kind of, an amuse-bouche, an appetizer, if you will, for you to, snack on and then go do some of your own research to carry it on further beyond the book.
Yeah. You talk about being the comedian. When you're on that stage, you are the one that's holding on to the freedom of speech. When you write a book, you've got to deal with editors. Ooh, was that a challenge? Because, you know how they are. They can say, Tre'vell, you don't need to go there.
Yes. I am grateful to say I had very supportive editors who understood the motivation and the intention behind the work that I was trying to do. And so they allowed my voice to stay central. Still had great feedback about different bits and pieces of information that maybe I need to explain further. And I definitely pushed back. I'm one of those writers. I love pushing back on an editor. And because I really wanted to make sure that the vision was maintained. But the entire team was really supportive and I think understood the importance of a book like this.
It tells so much history. It shares so much of the journey of so many. And you're right. A lot of us don't understand that what took place. But we've got to be in the present place of now going, oh, my God, it seems like the lawmakers and people today are trying to rid the world of drag and things like this. It's like, stop. It's an expression. It is a way of life. It is a journey. And how do you feel on your side when this continuously seems like an attack?
Yeah, well, it is an attack, right? It is a campaign against trans people, against what we represent. It's really interesting, right, to come up with a book, to have it coming out at a moment in which book bans are happening across the country. They don't want you talking about certain aspects of Black history, right, in certain parts of the country. So it's really kind of intimidating in a lot of ways to do this work. But the thing that keeps me going is knowing that they can't erase us. You can pass whatever laws you want, but we as trans people, we'll still be here. We're not going anywhere, and we will care for each other and build our communities and support that we need. And knowing this history, right, is part of that journey. It's part of that pushback, because what's the saying? You can't know where you're going unless you know where you come from. Yep. It's that exact same thing.
It is a community, and it's a blessed community, and it's a togetherness community, and people just don't realize it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Do you feel like you're the activator? In other words, when you release a book like this, I mean, it's like suddenly you've taken experience and you've taken knowledge and you've now become the activator in other people's hearts.
Maybe. I do a lot of work in journalism around, access and support for Black journalists, for trans journalists. And so I have a generation of younger journalists that I think have articulated, some sort of representation that I help serve for them in the same way that a journalist like Monica Roberts, legendary Black trans journalist, was for me. But really, I see myself as like some WD-40, right? Like the work is happening. I'm just like oiling the gears, hopefully that it, works a little easier, a little smoother,
What do you do in those situations when you've got younger journalists with you on your team? Because as a broadcast instructor, they think they're stars already. How do you kind of level them out to let them, have their own voice, but you're not a star yet?
I tell people that it's a journey.
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks, they look at folks like myself, they look at other, relatively young journalists who have, established themselves in a particular way, and they want that. But I have to remind people that, it took me a decade or so to get to this point, not only in terms of my career, but also in terms of just the knowing of myself, so that when I go into a newsroom these days, I'm able to not only know that I belong there and know that I bring something, but also that I can still learn things as well from the folks who are around me. I think that goal of always remaining teachable is something that I try to spread, a variety of different ways when I'm talking to younger journalists, but also as I'm talking about this book, right? Like, we should all remain teachable. There's always something for us to learn, and there's always ways that we can be, in solidarity with other communities as they're searching for and looking for the representation they deserve as well.
Yeah, this book, We See Each Other, is definitely a book of teaching. And the thing that I always, as a writer myself, I always think about that reader 10 years from now or 15 years from now. They're going to find this book and they're going to go, oh my God, they took a chance in bringing things forward.
Yeah, and that's one of the motivations, right? So the book is not comprehensive. I don't cover every single moment of trans visibility. I just kind of hit on the ones that were impactful for me. But the goal is that somebody in 10 years and 15 years and 20 years, not only that they will be inspired to, perhaps tell their own story and document other parts of this history, but they will have an accurate understanding of our thoughts in this particular moment of intense, trans visibility and backlash against trans communities. I want everything to be nuanced and complex, right? Because for me, I feel like when I was doing this book, when I was diving into the archive, I got very one-sided, one-dimensional stories of what life was like for trans people at very particular times in history. And our lives are so much more than our trauma and our tragedies, right? And so hopefully with this book, folks get a little bit of the other side of what trans life can also be. Would
you say that Laverne was one of your greatest inspirations? Because, you were in grad school, and it was just an opportunity to grow from that relationship.
Absolutely. Like Laverne I dedicate a whole chapter on Laverne in the book for that particular reason. 2014 with her role in Orange is the New Black, I feel confident was the first time that many people had seen a Black trans woman, on screen in a narrative that wasn't problematic, right? That wasn't about her trauma. And she has since gone on to continue representing the community and also educating the world, right, about about her life, about the existences and experiences of trans people. So she was pivotal for me in my own personal development, and then being able to, interview her over the years has always been just kind of a great source of pride for me.
In this day of binge watching, I love that you put viewing guides in here because it makes me want to go to a Netflix or a Hulu and search and have a better feeling and meaning of each episode.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, right? I want people to see what I have seen.
Yeah.
So I talk about the things in the different chapters, and then there are viewing guides so that you can go watch this web series or watch this show. And these are the movies, the shows that I talk about in the book, but not all of them are also talked about in the book. So there's a sort of exploration and discovery that can happen as well.
I'm just so proud of you, Tre'vell, because, you're going to open up the door and allow people to step free of their silence, because they can go out and act, they can go out and be creative people, and I'm just so proud of you
Absolutely.
for putting this out there.
Thank you so much for having me, Arrow.
You be brilliant today, okay?
Absolutely. I was going to do that anyway, but thank you for the encouragement.
Bye.